Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k Show. I'm your host, Mike Weinstein, alongside Justin Frederick, and in the middle, because Ryan is out of town again.
Yeah.
Dude, I wish I had his life.
I mean, he gets to go all over the place.
He does. And so we have our resident home inspector, Anthony Cucci, with HCP Inspections. If you've ever purchased a home with the Real Estate 401k group, you hired his company because his company is simply the best. And if you'd like some more information throughout this podcast, all you got to do is text the word inspection to 623-AZ-RECON. That's inspection to 623-AZ-RECON, or just type the word inspection in the comments section. So, Anthony, let's just get going here. And one of the things I wanted just to dive into as far as home inspections, because there's this myth out there. If I go out and buy a new build product where I'm buying directly from a Taylor Morrison or a D.R. Horton or whatever the case is, because it's brand new and the builders are just the greatest and the craftsmanship is just top notch and I don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, there's a warranty on it, right?
Yeah, there's a warranty on it. And
1 year.
Yeah, and there is a warranty
Right,
on it, but
right.
you
We
still
know how that goes.
But you still want to make sure that the house gets assembled properly. But there is this myth that with new builds, we don't need home inspections.
Yeah, let's myth buster that right now.
Let's jump in.
Yeah, I would completely disagree with that. I think, kind of like a traditional resale, you're buying a huge investment, probably the largest investment that you're going to purchase. Why not get a second look at it, an independent look?
They used to tell me that my home purchase was going to be the most expensive purchase, but I'm finding that marriage is.
Yeah.
My marriage.
If you
is
look
great.
at that as a purchase, I love you, baby.
My wife doesn't listen, so I'm good. I can say whatever I want about Mindy. So yeah, and why is that?
Yeah, I think you have a couple things working for you or working against you. One, in today's market, material is really hard to come by, right? And so there's a huge shortage of wood, lumber, material, tile, flooring, things like that. And the other thing you have working against you is there's a huge lack of field techs, right? So, crews and construction workers and things like that. And so when you combine those two together, you get the kind of perfect medley of inconsistencies, right? And
Go ahead.
Go.
When you're looking at an average resale home compared to a new build, what does the checklist items look like? Is there much different?
Yeah, it really is. And so I think on a new build, the biggest thing we look at, the biggest different thing that we look at is workmanship, right? And there's a variance on a resale of things that should be, lived in and used, right? And in a new build, it shouldn't, right? You shouldn't have ceiling pops or nail pops in the ceiling. You shouldn't have inconsistent tiles or small cracks in grout lines and trim that's unfinished on cabinetry or drawers that are loose. Really where it comes into play, the big ticket items, is you shouldn't have warped or damaged framing members or trusses and things like that. And we see a lot of that, so that's why I think it's really important to get in at like a framing stage to really see the skeleton portions of the home, because that's really, the big ticket items that are going to cost you down the road.
Yeah, and I've also seen with new builds is, you can have an HVAC system put in that the HVAC system, there's just something wrong with it straight from the factory. But a lot of times the ductwork isn't done properly, or it's pinched somewhere in the attic and so forth. And the thought would never cross your mind that if I'm buying a new build, I'm going to have a problem with the AC unit. But we've seen that frequently.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different things that come into play there. Upgrades like foam insulation and added insulation and things like that. You get to a point where the ductwork's running too close to the sheathing, the wood frame members, and once that spray foam's installed and expands, it starts pinching or constricting the duct flow. And so we really look for clearances and making sure that the ductwork's hung properly and not laying on the floor or run through trusses where it could like expand and puncture or things like that.
One of the things that Ryan and I, we've been selling a lot of what we call, either you can call it a spec home, an inventory home, where the builder, and the definition of an inventory home or a spec home is the builder's already pulled a permit, applied for the permit, and received the permit. So it could still be from the ground up stage, but most of the time we're looking at homes that are 30 to 45 days out. And we typically, with the builder, we're going to have two walkthroughs. We're going to have the basic orientation with the builder, where the builder walks us through how the appliances work and and all that kind of good stuff. And then you have the final with the builder, where you just make sure everything's done properly, all the repairs are requested, and then they typically will get their keys that same day. So the difference between that scenario, because we're typically ordering the home inspection about 3 days before the new home orientation, send it to the builder, let you guys go out there and create that punch list for the builder to repair. And that's typically, a one-time inspection, but sometimes we're buying from ground up, and you need to have multiple, inspections. And what phases are we having those inspections, and what's really the difference between the two and what you guys are looking for?
Yeah, I think the final inspection prior to close, like the 3 or 4 days prior to close, I tell people it's like a race to the finish. Builders are really trying to get things done by the deadline so you can close on time. Our goal is to not allow them to push anything to warranty, because once it goes to warranty, it goes to La La Land, and they have a year to fix it, and it's tough getting a hold of the warranty reps and getting it fixed. So our goal is to identify things and get them fixed before you get keys. And the rush to finish is where corners are cut, and that's where we find a lot of workmanship issues. Crews coming in that aren't really the crew that started the job just to get it done, workmanship inconsistencies, material inconsistencies, just to get that final piece in. That's what we really look for. A phase inspection really starts at the framing part, and it's a multiple inspection period, right? So we'll do a phase sorry, I'm drawing a blank here.
Yeah, a phase inspection.
Yeah, we'll do what we call a skeleton inspection of the framing members.
I was just throwing out words.
Yeah, it hit. It was good. Thanks for getting me back on track. We do a framing inspection, and it's when the house is plumbed, pressurized, and the electricals run through the framing members, and we get to see what we call the skeleton of the house. We get a good look at the foundation, the truss system, all the lines run through it. We get to see the pressurized plumbing system, and then we make our call-outs, our deficiencies that we find, and then we come back out and see how those repairs were made. Is it a patch job? Is it really done properly by the appropriate trade? And we get to look at those repairs and then identify those things that really need to get fixed instead of just braced or sistered.
Because once the drywall goes up, it's too late.
Yeah, once the drywall's on, you're looking for a major failure in order to see that it wasn't done right. Right. So like a plumbing cap not put on correctly, the drywall's wet and bubbling before you realize that it was done improperly.
So does the builder hold back until you complete that inspection based on
No.
you guys having it? So you have to be like, when is this work going to be done? And you have to be out there at that time, because I feel like they're trying to throw drywall up as fast as they can once they get the skeleton phase done, right?
Yeah, the biggest trick for us, and I tell people all the time, I tell agents all the time that are working with new sales offices, skip the sales rep in the office. There's 2 reps to every sales office. There's 100 homes going up. They have zero accuracy on timelines. Get the project manager's name that's dealing with your specific lot, and find out from them what the real timelines are, because they know daily what the update is. And the sales reps get weekly updates, maybe if they're lucky. Otherwise, it's biweekly. And so we interact directly with the PM or the superintendent that's out there. And we get accurate timelines, and my team stays in contact with them and finds out, okay, we're going to inspect this the day before drywall goes in, because that's when the things are most going to be completed, right? I don't want to go in 2 weeks before drywall goes in and the electrical's not run or something's going to get fixed. And we always hear, oh yeah, we're getting to that before drywall. Well, if I go in the day before drywall shows up, everything should be done. Mm-hmm. And so we really look for that. And that's probably one of the key things that we try to identify is who's the project manager, give us his contact number, and we'll manage that relationship.
All right, so moving on to the resale market, meaning that here's an existing home. Somebody's already lived in the home. They're selling their home. We're putting in an offer, and we got an accepted offer, and we're doing the inspection. Prior to that, when myself as the agent and the prospective buyer, when we're walking the house, this is prior to us ordering a home inspection, what are some things that we should be looking at? Because there's certain things, and the reason that we hire you, because there's certain things that we can't do. Even if I was willing to climb into the attic, I wouldn't know what I was looking for.
Yeah. You would want to, right?
Or want to, especially this time of year. And I'm not pulling tile from the roof. I don't have a drone. I'm not climbing up there and so forth. But what are some things that are telltale signs that like, okay, this could be something that we seriously need to get checked out?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would look at disclosure list, right? Like the items that the seller discloses that have been an issue or been repaired or anything like that. But I look for, what I tell people all the time is look for things that are obvious attempts at hiding something. Look for cover-ups, look for posters on the back of a door, that feel the poster. Is there a hole behind the door? Is there a carpet in an area that it's a weird place for a carpet placement? And so I go into it looking at it like an investigator. And while I'm trying to show a house and I tell people all the time, your job is to fall in love with the kitchen, the house, the location, the yard. Our job is to kind of investigate it for you and tell you as much as we possibly can about it. So I tell people all the time to look for cover-ups, look for things that are clearly out of place that shouldn't be there. If there's, water damage disclosed, I would look for 6 to 8 inches above the floor line, and you can see where the remediation company cut. You can see the line, even though it's patched and repaired. There's always like the texture's not right, the texture's inconsistent, and you can tell where it's been repaired, where it hasn't.
All right, and so one of the things that drives everybody nuts on inspection reports, and you and I talked about this the other day, and not all home inspection companies are created equal. And again, if you want to be introduced to Anthony Cucci and his team at HCP Home Inspections, all you got to do is text the word inspection to 623 AZ Recon. That's inspection to 623 AZ Recon, or just type the word inspection in the comments section. But this is. We recommend further evaluation. I feel like sometimes I get these from when we're selling a house and the buyer obviously has their choice of home inspection company. The buyers are freaking out because the entire inspection report says we recommend further evaluation. If we were going to do further evaluation on everything, it would be a 30-day just inspection period and an infinite amount of dollars of having specialists come out and so forth. So how should we interpret for further evaluation, and when should we really go, okay, we really need further evaluation?
Yeah, I think it's lazy report writing, that comment. It's a template comment that people put in. The state requires us to make a recommendation on every deficiency we find. So we have to state the cause, the location, and a recommendation for next steps for that deficiency. And a lot of people just kind of default to, I recommend you have it evaluated, right? Now it's out of my hands. I don't have
to tell you how to fix it.
Right. And you shouldn't tell them how to fix it, but you should tell them like the appropriate way to go about it, right? And that's what we work really hard on. We work really hard on leveraging our relationships with our third-party vendors, and so we can make a proper recommendation. And during our walkthrough, so we'll do the report and we'll meet at the end and we'll do a walkthrough. If your buyer's out of town, we'll do a teleconference. And we'll go through those deficiencies and we'll make recommendations based on what we see. And you're never going to be left with, well, you should have it evaluated by somebody. We'll identify the issue, tell you what we think caused it, and then tell you the proper next steps to.
But then sometimes you do, because we had one a couple months ago where, it was really apparent that there were some serious foundation issues, even through my lens of I'm looking at the stem wall going, this is worse than I've ever seen before. And as a matter of fact, I picked up the phone, called you, and you're like, yeah, dude, you should probably get a further evaluation. And I saved my guy about $45,000 in potential repairs.
Yeah, because I think the seller came back with
offered $1,500
for $50,000 repairs.
Yeah,
that's what we were talking about last week.
Yeah,
yeah, $1,500, no big deal.
Yeah, I think our biggest differentiator is the fact that we've built over time relationships that are quality relationships, where people come out and they'll give you their honest opinion. We network and we partner with people that are honest, that have done right by our customers, and do a great job. And so I've had roofers go out and tell people, it looks great. There's no need for a repair, or instead of re-roofing the entire roof, you just need to fix this piece for $500. And I value those relationships and leverage them as much as I can.
All right, last thing I want to talk about, it's a little scheme that you and I developed years ago.
I love it.
And it's great because and for our buyers, they need to understand that when we get the inspection report and then we're going to submit a list of repairs that we are requesting, Ryan and I were always trying to just negotiate this with cash, because a lot of these items I don't want the seller to take care of, because I don't know the quality in which it's going to get done. So if our buyer can get cash at the close of escrow, hire their own team to go out there, they can ensure it's going to get done. But oftentimes we're submitting a list of all of these repairs, and again, you don't know what the seller's going to do. You don't know whether cousin Billy Bob's going to come out and do the work or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So I always like to put them on notice when I submit it, especially with like HVAC issues and roof issues, of letting them know ahead of time that we're going to hire HCP prior to the close of escrow to come out there and verify that the repairs were done. Because then that puts them on notice, like I gotta
make sure it's done right.
I gotta
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
You know,
It holds their feet to the fire for sure. I love it. I've incorporated. I teach other people to do
that's
that.
our secret,
I
man.
know, but it's a good secret.
Not anymore.
And here's the thing: you don't even have to use this on the back end, right? Like if you go to a property and you ask them to fix a hole in the wall, you can tell if that hole's been repaired, right? And so you don't need us to go back out there for that. But if they know ahead of time that we're coming out to look at things to make sure your cousin's best friend's brother, sister didn't do the repair, it really holds their feet to the fire to do it right the first time. And we've found huge success with that. So I love the strategy. And whether you utilize us for it or not, it still holds that listing agent accountable for a proper repair.
All right, so let's spend a minute on credentials. One of the things that besides that, you guys have a kick-ass inspection company and you got 10 to 12 inspectors at moment's notice ready to go out and do these inspections, but you sit on certain boards. Like, you're part of holding other inspectors accountable when they get sued or complaints are filed and so forth. And I love it. I take great comfort knowing that the guy that's doing all my home inspections is the one that holds other inspectors accountable.
Yeah, it's kind of a love-hate relationship, right? So I do volunteer for the board. I am on the EAC committee, which is the Enforcement and Approval Committee. So anybody looking to become an inspector or any kind of enforcement issues usually goes through somebody on our committee. Any given circumstances, what happens is three inspectors get to look at it and decide whether there's enough reason to go to the next step and have a board hearing. It takes 2 out of 3 votes to make that go. So it's not just my opinion. It's there's a group of us, but I love it. It holds everybody accountable. And the thing I love the most about it is somebody can report an inspector for one miss, right? Like, there was 86 items identified in the report. There was one miss that they feel that they missed. We're not just looking at that one miss. We're looking at the entire report at that point and determining, did they meet the standard of practice for Arizona inspectors across the board? It doesn't matter if that one thing that they reported them on is good. How did they look with the rest of the report? And it holds our community. We're only as good as the last man on the ladder, so to speak. And it holds our community accountable for doing things the right way and the way they should be done. And I love it.
Well, Justin, the good news is if the whole lending thing doesn't work out for you, Anthony can maybe approve you to become a home inspector.
I'd probably go work for him.
Yeah. We wouldn't get much work done. There'd be a lot. Never mind.
There'd be a lot of golfing.
Yeah, a lot of. Okay, let's go with golfing. All right. This is Anthony Cucci with HCP Inspections. If you are working on buying a new build or working on buying a house and you want one of the best home inspection companies in the state of Arizona, and I shouldn't say state of Arizona because our podcast is national and you're in a bunch of different markets around the nation, right?
Yeah, we've been fortunate enough to expand, and we have teams, across several states and multiple markets. So yeah, happy to help, and just reach out.
All you got to do is text the word inspection to 623-AZ-RECON. That's inspection to 623-AZ-RECON, or just type the word inspection in the comment section.